The Cardi-Girls, we're Cardi-Girls. I'm gonna say what we want. The Cardi-Girls, singing from the front. The Cardi-Girls, our mouths are our guns, and we here and fighting, cause it has to be done. We're gonna say what we want. The Cardi-Girls, singing from the front. The Cardi-Girls, our mouths are our guns, and we here and fighting, cause it has to be done. We're gonna say what we want.
Break your friends break.
Cardi-Girls, singing from
It's like a bit of a free for all, isn't it? Really?
I think there's an assumption that.
For a while now, Jodie, while we talked about some of this week's highlights.
Yep, absolutely.
We're gonna say what we want. The Cardi-Girls, we're singing from the front. The Cardi-Girls, our mouths are our guns, and we here and fighting, cause it has to be done.
Oh,
Hello.
hi.
Hello.
Oh, I'm going to make it bigger. Oh, now you're bigger. That's better. I can see.
Look at me.
You've got the orange on.
A vision in orange.
Australia, One Nation. How are they going with those last
Not
three
an easy colour to wear by any means. Not an
Oh,
easy
thank
colour
you,
to wear.
actually. It
Oh,
matches
no.
your lip-
Well, do you know how hard I had to try to find a lipstick to match? To dig into the bottom of my lipstick box and find something
No.
from the 80s.
That colour suits you, I reckon.
Oh, thank you. No, it's a rather harsh orange.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it stands out. Actually, I've got a feeling our independent up here wears orange because she uses oranges and a cockatoo as a, the
A prop. Yeah.
yeah. And then I
Okay.
said to her, she had oranges in a bowl and a cockatoo. And I said to the people spruiking, I said, if my father was alive now, he'd be absolutely horrified because the cockatoos used to rip the orange trees to pieces when they were little. I said,
Yes.
you've got a cockatoo and an orange tree
Orange.
in the country.
I wonder what the message she's trying to get across there is. I can't imagine.
I don't know. Orange is orange. I've got no idea. And the
No.
cockatoo, I've got no idea.
No.
There's lots of cockies here, but they're not orange. They're white.
No.
So, don't know.
Well, I'm wearing orange because I volunteered for One Nation last week and worked at one of the pre-polling stations. And then on Saturday, I handed out how to vote papers at a polling station. So, and I have a friend, Natasha, who we've met once before on our show,
Yes.
and she was working last week and at Semaphore, down by the beach. Anyway, she's on the opposite
Right.
side of Adelaide to me, and so I thought it might be interesting for us to have her on tonight, just to tell a few stories about the reactions we got from people wearing our orange proudly, because it was my first time at a voting station like that, being a person who was approaching, how from now on I'm going to take a flyer from everyone. If I go to vote ever again, like, I'm going to take a flyer from everyone and be so nice to them, because honestly, you need to have a really thick skin to do this, because people can be so bloody rude. Anyway, I thought we'd have a bit of a chat about that, and then talk about the fact that One Nation appear here in South Australia to have, they've got 3 upper house seats are secured, and then there are 2 lower house seats with another 2 that are being still counted now. But
Oh,
the media are not reporting it correctly, from my understanding.
surprise.
Can you imagine my shock when I heard that? Yeah, so there's an area that encompasses Murray Bridge and lots of rural areas that is looking like the candidate for One Nation is going to win that seat. It's neck and neck with the Labor candidate. And another one down in the flatlands here in Adelaide that is also neck and neck. So they're counting them vote by vote. And so they put out a call for scrutineers yesterday, I think it was, to get people to make sure that they count every single vote because it's going to come down to brass tacks, I think.
Yeah, and I reckon they need to count it again and again. You know, it's you wonder, don't you? You just wonder because when you know what happened in Victoria and you think, how'd they get back in? But we do know we had Ian Cook on, remember, and he said they removed boxes of votes, disappeared. You know.
Yes.
So, and they told scrutineers not to come in that morning. All these sorts of things, you know, just all pushed under the carpet.
Yeah, it's trickery.
It is.
Trickery,
some people
trickery
call
and
it
fuckery.
fuckery. I've got a friend who calls it shit fuckery, and I think it's pretty right.
Shit fuckery. Plus, yeah, I like that, shit fuckery.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, no, I do.
Yes.
So let's bring in Natasha. Now, before, when we were practicing, Natasha said she could hear us but couldn't see us. So let's see. Hello, can you see us?
Bonsoir. No, unfortunately. Can't see your lovely face.
Can't see my lovely orange T-shirt.
I can see.
No, darling, mine.
It matches yours, but yours looks quite nice and muted. Mine looks very orange. It's very orange.
I'm extremely orange. Just
so we'll try not to, because you can't see us. We will try not to overtalk each other, won't we, Kay? So that
we'll use our
Mate, I don't want a clicking noise or a tapping noise, then I'll shut up. Because otherwise, once I start talking, I won't stop.
No, we know that. So you start. Tell us about your experience at the polling booth, and then I'll interject with my experiences. So how did you go, Natasha?
Oh, look, there's 5 complaints, but can I go back a day or two, because this is what was interesting. My hubby has just taken on being an Australian citizen, and his citizenship, what's it called? Celebration was on Thursday. So that's it. Thank you very much. The ceremony was on Thursday. Interesting. Now, we got there, they said to come in a couple of hours before to sign in because there's going to be an influx of people anyway. So we get there, 11:30, and they said, no, come in at 12:30 to, register and whatever. So anyway, we toddled off, came back to 12:30 it was, we got registered. Guests were upstairs in Town Hall in Adelaide, and downstairs were all the people accepting the ceremony to be an Australian citizen. Well, the big eye-opener was, we were part of Salisbury Council. Mind you, we live in Port Adelaide, but we were part of the Salisbury Council ceremonies that were happening before the 23rd, before Saturday, because there was everywhere. There's literally there is thousands of people being sworn in between now the election. Hubby, when he got his letter to say he's been approved for citizenship, he wanted to do it in Port Adelaide. But they couldn't do it because they hit their quota of 2,000 people. That's just Port Adelaide, mind you. Anywho, so and then we put an application urgently because of his NDI, another story. But anyway, so we got accepted in the Salisbury Council ceremony. Now, we were in there at 1:30. They had ceremonies all day to every couple of hours. And I was talking to the girl, and she said at the door, and I said, oh, this is interesting. How many people you got here today? There's 330 of them from 43 different nationalities. This is just ours at 1:30. I said, oh, so what were the others before us? She goes, most of them, this is what Adelaide's coming to, most of them were from Afghanistan and India. So it's like, okay, great. Look, I'm not racist. I come from, but this is what's happening.
Fast tracking. Because your husband. So
he's a man.
Natasha has been married to Taylor for about 150 years. Have you been married? Or
he's lived in Australia for 20 years. The only reason is there was always a natural.
Yeah.
There's a natural relationship between New Zealanders and Australia. But the crazy thing, then on that day, they had people, you could enrol to vote. So they said, okay, enrol to vote, this is your form, or go to your polling booth with this QR code, off you toddle. Now, this is where it gets a bit hot and steady. So we ran, Thursday night, great, the place is open till 8 o'clock, so we ran over to vote. Now, this is what's really weird. He registered to vote, which is great. He registered to vote. and he was told to bring back his papers because they're going to put him in a special envelope. And I questioned the lady. I said, what's the difference? I mean, he's registered to vote. He's now an Australian citizen. Here's his certificate. This is his number. No, oh, no, there's got to be special process. And I said, in what way a special process? So every new citizen's vote was put in a special envelope. Please explain.
Why?
Don't know. She couldn't. Don't know.
That's a letter.
Don't
that's
know.
a question for your South Australian Electoral Commission.
Yeah,
Wow.
They were put in green-coloured envelopes. They were sealed. All of his ballots, all the big white paper was put in a special. And I questioned her. This is why she could not give me an answer, because I'm thinking, hang on, he's registered. He's an envelope now. He should just automatically follow like everywhere else. No. So you imagine how many hundreds and hundreds of votes that they would have got in special envelopes. Now, what's to say that if these people voted, say, for One Nation, they got tossed to the side, or they were just not even counted in there?
That's
a question.
You could put that as a freedom of information question. If you go onto the Electoral Commission website, there'll be an area where you can ask that question. You really should do that, because accountability now is number one. Accountability and transparency. And we have to keep questioning it. You know, I said to my husband, I said,
because there's no names on there. No, there's no names. So you don't know who's who. There's no names. There's no nothing. So they don't know who's voting. So, so imagine how...
Oh, I thought they might put their names on it. Yeah.
Were they all voting for different electorates? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because you think they're all new citizens coming in to vote.
Yeah, okay.
So
why are they putting...
see, would they know in that green envelope there's no address, there's no, as you said, whatever they're in, so you wouldn't know.
That's it. I mean, they might know by the green slip, because it was, each, council had their own, or the electorate office had their names on the slip or whatever. But when you think about it, why is it? And then when you think about all the thousands of new citizens that they let in the last, between election day, on Saturday, how many thousands of people came into this state, and they would have done exactly the same thing with all of their envelopes. Please explain.
Yeah,
and it was very convenient that day was just a couple of days before the election.
Yeah,
no coincidence there.
Imagine.
And so were they rushing through the naturalisation ceremonies prior to the...
Every day of the week. Apparently they had every day of the week, if not all the couple of weeks before. And we got squeezed in on Thursday, considering every 2 hours they had groups of over 300. And this is just Salisbury Council. So this was every single council in South Australia had these ceremonies of people coming in. Because my mayor, I bumped into her of Port Adelaide at the polling booth, and we told her, we're just coming from, the ceremony. Oh, she goes, oh, bugger, you missed mine. Otherwise you would have been part of my group in Port Adelaide. We're like, what? When was yours? She goes, a few days ago at Port Adelaide Town Hall. So it makes you wonder how many of these thousands of votes that went into special envelopes, why?
When your husband voted, did they ask any questions, or he just went into a green envelope?
No, he just showed his certificate, because it's got a number on the certificate. They registered him, asked his name or the address or whatever else, and that was it. It took him a few minutes, and then I waited, and then he told me he's got to take them back. I said, no, just put them in the bins here, the green and white. He goes, no, I've got to take them back to the lady, to the guy. I said, what for? I said, this is great. What for? There's no name. There's no nothing. And then as he turned around to give it back to the guy, I saw him. He put it in a special greeny blue kind of a coloured, which now it just dawned on me. Maybe each council had different coloured envelopes. Who knows? But I'm just saying. And then she couldn't explain. She could not give me a clear answer. And I questioned her on it, pressed her even. I thought, well, why? Why?
That's
sorting them into different...
Once you're naturalised, I would have thought you've already got a number. Everyone take a number. We've all got a number.
Yep.
That should be... Then would they registered onto the electoral roll there and then? Is that what they did?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you were a vote on the electoral roll there and then, why put the votes in a special envelope? Why? Okay, you're now citizen, you're registered in the whatever thing.
How can you vote if you're not on the electoral roll? How can you vote? They won't let you vote if you're not on the electoral roll.
No, but then but each citizen was given a told to go vote. This is little card with a QR code that didn't work anyway. But then you go to the booths and they will register you there and then.
So the electoral commission were on site.
Yeah, they're all on site there. The scrutineers, the electoral commission guys, they're all on there.
But you've got to show proof when you enrolled. Oh, on the electoral commission.
Australian citizenship, there it is. There's your Australian citizenship. Bang, there you go. Well, I don't know about address or ID or anything. I mean, I didn't even notice. I mean, they might have asked because you've got to put your address and all that in, which is natural. Yeah. They might have got an ID or something.
Because you might have been naturalised in, I'm not sure how that all works. I suppose you've got to be in that state to be naturalised in that. It says it's on the certificate, I guess, does it?
Yeah.
And is there a number on the naturalisation certificate?
I don't know. Look, it's yes, given a number, there's a number, and that's part of your, whatever registration, whatever citizenship.
That's part of your ongoing identity. Because I just tried to renew our passports, and I had to get the number off Mickey's naturalisation certificate. Yeah, to prove that he's a citizen.
Right.
The world is ruled by numbers. The world is ruled by numbers.
Lucky there's only 9 digits.
And can see when you think about it, because when you think, okay, this was just Salisbury Council for the day, when you think they had them from 9 o'clock all day to basically 5, and there was over 300 people at each ceremony. For every ceremony was every couple, because we were there at 12:30, and there was another ceremony at 1:30. So I'm thinking, okay, even if it's every hour on the hour or every couple of hours, now you imagine that in a day, how many hundreds of people? That's just one day, right? And if every person, well, I don't know if all of them, but whoever, how many hundreds out of them voted, now you add that all up per council throughout South Australia, that all these votes went into special envelopes.
I know why. Those that didn't vote are going to get fined. You're going to fine them if they didn't vote.
No, it would have been One Nation, Labor. Yep.
I reckon. That makes me sick.
Yeah, but hang on, that's my question though. If they didn't vote and they hadn't, don't you get fined if you don't vote? But you've got to be on the electoral roll, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. So we've got to, so these people, and how would they know? I mean, you've been an Australian citizen, the citizenship hasn't got a name on it. How would they know apart from the number? And if they haven't registered?
That's what I mean. It doesn't all link up.
No, well, that's the thing. But I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine the hundreds that did vote, all the ones that were taught, because they went to the electoral. There was a table at the ceremony from the Australian Electoral Commission, all talking about voting. People would have spoken about them, came up, talked about, who knows. So people, family members that were here, they would have said, okay, you got to vote and all that. So they would have still taken how many hundreds of votes that still weren't counted properly in envelopes that weren't,
That's a question. That's a question for the
someone needs to find that out.
Yes. Anyway.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he's now an Australian citizen. That's lovely.
Yeah.
And he deserves to be, because he's been here for a goodly long while.
20 odd years, but
Yeah, he's been married for 4,000 of.
Is it hard to get naturalised? Does it take a long process?
10 months. It took him 10 months.
Right. But he's been paying tax and doing everything. Yeah.
Yeah, for 20 odd years he's been paying tax.
So tell us about your experience at Collingwood, please, because you tell me yours and then I'll tell you mine.
Well, I got there with my ears pricked back, as you do. 8 o'clock on the dot, I was there with my, coffee and, how to vote cards for my man here in Port Adelaide, Joel Hendry, which unfortunately he lost to Shane Rich, who I used to work with when I was in the what's it called? Union days about 10 years ago. No, how long ago? About 6 years ago I worked there. And it was no jab, no job. So you can jab that job up your Jack's cracker. So, so anyway, so he got in, and this is what I can't understand. Sorry, I'm getting off track here, but he doesn't even live in my area. So anyway, he's our new guy for Port Adelaide. Anywho, so I get there.
Which party is he?
Labor, Communist Party. But this was what's really weird. I was the one and only soul there from 8 till 6 in Orange. There's only one of me. At one stage, they had 5 Labor people in red, 5. I counted them, plus Susan Close was there, and then her cohorts, 5 of them. The Greens had 3. The Libs had 2, mother and son duo, and he was actually quite lovely because I worked with him before, and he was going in as an independent Scot. Anyway, got there, and must say most of the people were pretty good. Got really good positive vibes from young families. Couples in their 30s, 40s, 60s and 70s were really, great, we've got one, I won't vote for you. But the majority of the people, seriously, women, menopausal, lunatic women that would just snarl at you, give you the growl, look down upon you, wouldn't even, huff, puff and do stupid things. They were just, the majority. But the other thing that spun me out that I looked at and I was, disillusioned is these young people that are just off the planet. They don't even look like young people anymore. They're sickly looking. I'm being very judgmental here, but they're just lost souls. They'd look down upon you. They'd frown. They'd mock. They'd say some horrible word, growl at you, and you think, oh God, this is your. And I said to them, this is your future. They can't make eye contact, to try and have a conversation with them. No, couldn't get eye contact. The attacks that I got were interesting. I got one from the Labor woman because she was walking. I said, oh, would you like, because I didn't realise who she was because she had a T-shirt covered, and I turned around to give her a flyer. And she goes, oh, I won't effing vote for you. And I thought, oh, that's charming. Yeah, okay, great. No worries, love. Thank you. See ya. And then the other one was a greenie. He would have been in his 70s. They're both probably in their late 60s, 70s, both the Labor and the greenie guy. And he came in on his push bike, and I thought, here comes a geezer. So I thought, here you go, love, one nation, vote for One Nation. And he turns around and he goes, I'd never fucking vote for you, you cocksucker. I went, charming. This guy's in his 70s. And then I realised as he went to park his bike, I thought, why is he parking it down the end when he's got to just realise that he's swapping his T-shirt for whatever he had and he's putting a green one on. So anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And actually, no, I lied. There was another old lady from the Greens. She gave me the filthiest looks, and she barked at me, swore and called me whatever. She goes, I'll never effing vote for you, bloody idiots. And she carried on. So I went to my car, and I just glared at her with this real goofy, kind of look at her. So I'm glaring, walking past her, trying to make fun of her. And then I had another.
They weren't voting for you.
Yeah.
No, they don't have to abuse you. And
She voting for me, love.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to be nice and polite, have conversations, and then you got people saying, "Oh, no, thanks, love, save a tree." And this is what was funny. This other lady, she would have been in her 60s, mid to late 60s, and she says, "Oh no, save a tree." I said, "Yeah, definitely." I said, "Save the pink, the red, the orange," and I'm calling out all the colours of all the flyers, and then she turns it around with this real evil, snarly look, and she goes, "What the F are you saying?" Didn't even get to say anything, and her husband turns around and goes, "Why don't you just fuck off?" And I'm there, charming, lovely, charming. And then as they walked in, the Australian, one of the commissioner electoral ladies comes out, and she's walking up to me. She goes, "Excuse me." She goes, "I've had 5 complaints about you." And I said, 5, really? Only 5? Lucky me. I said, "Now what are these?" I said, just serious. And I said, seriously, do I honestly look like the type that's going to balls up anybody or upset them or make them angry? I said, this is, and I told her the story about, I said, see that old geezer over there in the green, that red witch over there, and then the other couple, and that couple that just walked past that gave me the filthy look and then get called cocksucker and told to F off and all that. Do you honestly think, what am I meant to do? Stand there and just go, have a great day, love? I said, don't take any crap. And she goes, and then she walked away smiling. She walked away smiling. And I said, there it is. I said, if they're going to be, oh, there you are, I can see you now. I said, if they're going to be imbeciles and abused, I said, I'm not here to take that kind of crap. And I said, if they're going to, dish that to me, I'll dish it back to them. But the majority of the people were really good, really positive. It was,
Sorry, go on.
No.
No, you go.
No, I was going to say that I had a lot of young families, and even a couple of young people, in their 20s and 30s, all looking for me. Oh, there you are in the orange heat, and they take the One Nation, vote for one. And,
young men,
yeah,
young men and young families. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And it was all that. I hope you get in. I hope you guys get in. I want fingers crossed. And I said, mate, you got to pray. I said, because this is our chance to put a dent into Labor. I said, because they're running scared. So and it was the whole. 10 hours. It was a long day, but it was good. It went quick. But it was. I felt positive about it. A bit just. Some days, some hours were like a bit. Here I am. It's like, and I'm looking at the Labor, the amount of people that Labor were taking compared to the One Nation, the numbers, and I thought, oh well. But mind you, I was in Largs Bay, and Largs Bay is a real lefty, Labor, green stronghold, and the people.
Actually,
sorry, Kay. You go.
What you say about save the trees. So, the last election we had here, I was talking to, because in a small town we know most people, and we were saying, I have a friend, Brian Shaw. Apparently in the Electoral Commission, there is a rule about how far you have to be from the voting door.
Yeah.
And now if that was the case, you'd be blocks away. Apparently it's quite a far. I can't remember what it is.
We had a chalk line drawn where we weren't allowed to cross.
Right, yeah. And that's
I was miles away from everyone. I stood right away from everybody. It's had some other stupid young girl. What was she? Some socialist, and then she mocked because there was the people waiting in line. I went, well, if they're giving them while they're waiting in line, I'll go over there. One Nation, of course, everyone turned me down. And then the socialist, little whatever, she was about 4 foot something. She had something to say about Labor and mocked it. Not sorry about Labor, One Nation. Then she mocked. Said something that her and the Greens and the socialists were laughing, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah, actually, I think we were talking about this. It does create not niceness, if there's such a word. And we were saying about all these things that are printed and handed out. So maybe each party gets, the big poster size. They get one poster, all out the front, with underneath
the corporate
how to vote. And then that would take all that part of it that you're talking about, the horrible, the nastiness, because we're meant to be united, not divided. And that would stop the them, their, us. I know some people probably can't read those things, but we were saying how much easier that would be, all in a straight line with how to vote under each one, and you take whatever you want. And then those that don't take it, because I'm sure some people have got no idea what they're doing, and so they just probably, I had a guy behind me that asked me the difference between the parties when I was in the line to vote. I'm thinking, seriously, this bloke is as old as me. He's nearly 70. And I'm thinking, really? So
you need a license to vote. You need to prove that you've got the brains before you're allowed to vote.
Yeah, well,
I had one lady. I had one lady in her 70s, standing at the gate, giving her a flyer, and she goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "One Nation." She goes, "Oh, you Trump lovers." And I said, "Shit, yeah." And she goes, "Oh, you're starting the war. You're starting the war." And I said, "What war?" I said, "He's got enough balls and guts to stand up to, terrorist Iran." I said, and she goes, "Oh, so what about balls?" I said, "He's the only president, while everyone was talking and thinking about it, that he's got enough balls and guts to actually stand up to these people that have been killing their innocent." And she's huffed and puffed and all that. And because I said it loud and proudly, well, everyone's scattered around me like rats up a drain pipe.
Can I tell my stories?
Yeah,
please.
Yeah. So I got off to what I thought was quite a good start, because I had not done this before, and no one bothered to tell me the rules of engagement with people. So I just picked it up as I went along. So there was a very green. First of all, I'm in a very blue Liberal seat, but the Greens were out en masse. Like the volunteers were about 10-1 to every other party at pre-polling, and so I had quite a lot of nice conversations with some of the Greenie people. They were, nothing against them. They were all a couple of fellas there that were brothers, and they were giving it a good hard go. Like they were very brave walking up to people, but the Greens did really poorly in our area because, as I said, it's a very, very Liberal area. Anyway, But I had been given the word from a couple of other ladies who had volunteered the previous day, and they said that the Labor candidate who was there had gotten a bit shitty with them, and because she knew them from Forest of the Fallen, and had come up and told them that there was no such thing as a vaccine injury, and she knew because she was a nurse, and so I thought I'm going to try and engage this woman in conversation, because I was talking to Lorraine from Forest of the Fallen, and we said to each other how but we still question ourselves on a daily basis. Are we seeing jab injuries, or are we blind, and are we just attributing other illnesses to jab injuries? And we question ourselves all the time, question. And Lorraine, who runs the Forest of the Fallen, says she questions herself too. And so I thought I'm going to try and engage this woman in conversation if I get a chance. Anyway, so the day when school pickup time, it went very quiet. There was no one around, so I thought I'd just go and say g'day. Anyway, so I introduced myself and I said, "Oh, hello, I'm Susanna. What's your name?" I said, "Hello, Marissa." That's her name's Marissa. Oh no, it's not Marissa. It's Marisa, because there's only one S, you see. So I had to be corrected on that. And I said, "And what do you do? Oh, well, she's an intensive care nurse, an educator, a counsellor, about 5 or 6 different things."
Hope she's paid well.
I know, and I said, "Oh, you're busy, aren't you? What have you got? Is this something you're just doing in your spare time, sort of thing?" And she, and because the Greens lady had asked me what my passion was, and then she had told me what her passion was. So I said to Marisa, not Marissa, Marisa. I said to Marisa, "What's your passion? What is it that you're about?" And her husband came and stood and told me to fuck off, and said. And she didn't need to answer my questions and to fuck off.
You should have said, "Well, obviously it's not your husband."
Hey?
You should have said, "Well, obviously the passion's not your husband."
Oh God! So that really, I thought to myself, "Gosh, that was he was really rude," and I felt quite embarrassed, because I really had just been trying to engage in conversation, and I just was genuinely interested to know what she was about, and I hoped that the conversation might, get around to maybe jab injuries, but I hadn't pressed the subject on her, because you can't do that with people. Anyway, so I never found it. Anyway, and so then I had about an hour of quite a pleasant experience where I got lots of young tradies and things coming and requesting the how to vote form. And then this woman came up to me, and I was standing next to the nice Liberal lady who was handing out Liberal forms, and we were having a bit of a chat, and she, we found a bit of common ground. And this woman came up to us, and she was lovely and smiling. She said, "Oh, hi." And I thought, "Hi." She said, "Oh, my dad was friends with Robert Menzies." And I thought, "Oh, right." Yeah. And she said, "Yeah, and he did this and he did that and this and that and the other, and they were great mates." And then she says, "And he would be disgusted about what you two were doing. He would turn in his grave." Yeah. And so I thought, okay, going really well. And then, just as I was about to go home, I was talking to Tom, who was our candidate, and this fella came up to us. He was about 5'0", wearing rigid denim, and you've got to be wary of someone wearing rigid denim. And he came and stood about this far from our faces and said, "Why don't you fuck off out of the country if you hate the country so much?" And I'm like, "What?" I said, "I'm doing this because I love my country." "No, you don't. You need to fuck off." And
wow.
So Tom took him aside and sort of took him away from me and gave him a bit of a chat. And they were the highlights of the pre-polling experience. The actual wankered rigid denim wearing, yeah. The polling day, everyone was really nice, except these 2 really ugly lesbian women came to vote, and they came and they very pointedly stood right next to me and my husband, who was also wearing orange, a vision in orange, and they said to the Greens lady, "Show us how to make sure that they get right at the bottom of the list." And they were just using like the body language just was really hateful and really ugly. It was just ugly.
It is, yeah.
Well, can I tell you my story about how I got abused? I wasn't even at a polling booth. I was driving into town. Actually, I was lost for words, which is very much unlike me. But I was driving into town, and they're doing some development on a property development. So there's one of those red green lights. So I'd been in town the day before, and the guy was waving me through the red light. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a bit strange. So
that's
anyway,
confusing.
I'm parked behind a big bus. Oh, I'm parked behind this big bus, so I couldn't see the light. So when the light went green, I thought I'd just better make sure I'm meant to go, because there'd been a mix-up. And I didn't know whether the bus had gone through a red or a green, right? Because I couldn't see because the bus took up space. So I just was going really slowly, and I hear, "Can you fuck off, you moron?"
Why did you assume it was you? Why would you assume it was you?
Who are you talking to? Anyway, but then I get home, and I'm about to tell my husband, and he had a similar experience. He'd gone in earlier in the day, and he'd pulled up, as you do at the red light, and she came over and said to him, "Oh, you're too far from the thingo," and she swore at him, and he's gone, "What the?" And he just put his window up, and she was, because she reckoned he'd pulled up too far and he couldn't see the light. He said, "I can see the light on the first car. I can see the light." So anyway, that was my funny story about getting abused. In fact,
people seem to be more and more angry.
I was an idiot. It wasn't a moron. I was only an idiot. So I was only that level. Yeah, I wasn't.
No, that's good.
So, yeah. Anyway, I was going to ring and find out who the lovely girl was that was handling the lights that day, because I really wanted to compliment her boss.
Can I? Sorry, I'm being very rude. I just reading an audio message from my friend Jackie, who I also asked to come on the show tonight, because she did the polling booth as well, but she can't, because she's in all sorts of pain at the moment, because she and her husband are trying to figure out how they can afford to buy diesel to run their business at the moment. So she said she wasn't in the mood to come on, but she said that she was at the polling booth on Friday, and a man in about his late 60s was walking in and greeting everybody, and then came up to her and leant into her face and said, "Can you spell policy?"
Isn't it pathetic? And yet you ask them, so yeah, okay, that's policy. Show me Labor's or Liberals' policies. What are they?
Yeah,
what
exactly.
Policies are they from, they have got nothing.
Another husband and wife came up to her, and they're about in their 70s, and he goes up to her and says, "I don't vote for racists." And
they are really,
and was quite offensive.
Sorry.
And so, so this man came up to her and really came up to her face and said he didn't vote for racists. And so Jackie turned away, and he kept abusing her. And so the Labor guy and the Liberal guy were standing nearby, and they didn't do anything. And she turned to them and said, "What's the matter with you? Are you just going to stand there and watch a woman being abused? Don't you stand up for women anymore?" And they went all
quiet.
And then the independent guy who'd been further up the street heard her saying that to them, and he came over and said, "Oh, what's happened?" And she said, "Oh, this man abused me." And he said, "Oh, look, if that ever happens again, just raise your hand or flag me down, and I'll come over and sort it out." So that was nice.
Wow, okay, nice.
Yeah. What's wrong with people? I do believe that people have got worse over the last 6 years, don't you reckon? With all the pandemic scams, they've all become. They think they're so bloody important. I don't know. The entitlement is there. It's quite frightening, really. I mean, people are people. We're all here for the same reason. We all got born. We're all going to the same place.
Someone said they think that people have gone more aggressive since they've been vaccinated. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Yeah, I did. Oh, Michael showed me this before. Isn't this appalling? Can you see that, Natasha?
Yeah. Is that for real?
No.
Well, it's AI, but that's what they think of us.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Those people commenting on what you guys are doing, they've only heard a snippet and they haven't even questioned, is the snippet correct? Because it's so hard at the moment because the world's topsy-turvy. You don't know if it's true.
It's also the media. When you think Labor's, what was his budget? Malley, whatever his name is, his budget for this election was how many? What, 75 million or something, or something ridiculous. He's paying for this stupid election, right? And you look at these people, they're trying to explain to them that our state, let alone our country, can't survive with this guy. We're nearly $50 billion in debt. 50 billion. We don't even have 2 million people in this state. Well, we might have it now, I don't know. But when you look at the population compared to the debt of what this knucklehead is doing, and I keep calling him the printing machine man, because he must be printing money somewhere. Because they try and talk to him.
That's what Corey Bernardi said. He's like a 16-year-old with a credit card, with his parents' credit. Yeah.
Look at Victoria. Look at the shit Victoria's in. I mean, this is when you look at it every single time. This is what blows me away, the people that keep constantly voting. And then I had one guy walking through, he goes, it doesn't matter where you vote. I said, mate, more than ever now, your vote matters. He was just this grumpy old fart. And I said, at least try and make your vote count this time. It doesn't matter, it's all bullshit. And I said, no, it's not. I said, it matters, So he came back outside and he wouldn't even make eye contact. But you try and teach people and telling them about this stuff, and they keep voting the same thing day in, day out, thinking it's going to change. What's the definition of madness? Doing the same thing all the time, expecting a different result. That's what Australia's got. And every single time we go really good, then they vote these fuckwits Labor in. They send us into so much debt, and more so now than ever, our bozo. It's like, anyway.
But the question is, who do we owe the money to?
I never understand that.
No, because China in debt to other countries. So is it really a debt, or is it a number that's created to create fear, to create control?
Well, there's got to be money taken out from somewhere, and debt. When you look at the amount of money that they're spending on infrastructure, I mean, even the Women and Children's Hospital, they priced it up, I think it's about $5 billion worth. Yet the same type of hospital, twice the size, was built in Tweed Heads or somewhere for $750 million. Why is ours costing $5 billion? It's got less rooms, and there's a lot of probably more cons than pros about it. Then on top of that, you start adding up, like when it comes to the tunnel, then they got priced at 9-point-something billion. Now it's blown out to 15 billion. So it's all the deals, and no different to Melbourne. Look, Melbourne made all the deals with all of China, building their roads and all the rest. They're paying somebody. Then same with the wind turbines that they're putting up everywhere. It's all, there's someone's paying for that.
Those machete bins. Do you remember hearing that guy saying that he worked out how much they cost each? And he said he could have done them for $350.
So this is the question. Where is it going? And that's what I don't think we ask enough. Let's see your balance sheet. Where's it going?
Well, there was a guy who explained about the wind turbines, the wind turbines and how they're built, and the step-by-step of where the money goes, and then the international companies that are, the manufacturers and all the things. But then there's people paid, to run them, to hold them, the administrations and all the rest of it. And yet at the end of the day, this is what people in Australia need to wake up to, these wind turbines that, again, work on diesel, because they're not... they don't actually. They're actually called wind turbine. No, not wind windmills. They're wind turbines which need diesel to run on. And on top of that, that's all the people are paid and everything. The farmer is responsible for the maintenance of these shitty things.
And to get rid of them at the end of their life. It's his job to get rid of them off his property at the end of their life. And the footprint of them is huge. The concrete footprint.
So solution, we all know what's happening. Politicians don't seem to make any difference. We've seen that over the last how many years. So what is the solution?
Well, that's why everyone voted One Nation. That's why we're seeing
it in action.
You hope
I think we're seeing it in action. I was going to say earlier, and I'm so am not surprised. I'm not going to say I'm surprised that One Nation have done so well in this election here in South Australia, because I think that there are a lot more people awake to the fuckery than we are aware of.
Yeah.
And a week or so ago, I still go on Facebook and read all what the sort of what I call the bogan posts, I suppose. I don't want to say that without sounding like a snob, but there's a guy here in South Australia called South Aussie with Cozzy. He was a radio announcer. Yeah. He has a Facebook page, and he does some really good things. Like he goes over and helps out in orphanages in Thailand and stuff. And he's a do-gooder. He seems like a really nice guy, but he's blind to everything that's going on. Anyway, he put up a post last week or so, and like, who are you going to vote for? And I thought, this will be interesting. It'll be Labor, Greens, Labor, Greens. Oh my God, orange! It was lit up with orange. His comment thread was lit up with orange, and I was just delighted, because that to me is a really good indicator of people's changing their tune. And so I was feeling quite pleased about that. And then I had dinner with a friend of mine, and she said, "Oh, what have you been doing today?" And I said, "I've been at the pre-polling for One Nation." Well, she got so cross with me, went off like a frog in a sock. Didn't I know what a horrible person Corey Bernardi was? I needed to do my research. He was against LGBTQ, and and you've got a gay son, so how can you support that? How can you support him? And I was quite taken aback, because this was something that I was unaware of about Corey Bernardi, and so I just went quiet and came home, sat up for 2 hours, and found what it was that she had seen. And of course it was Channel 9 dragging up something from 14 years ago, when he had said in Parliament that to change the Marriage Act was not a simple matter of just changing the Marriage Act to encompass gay marriage, but we needed to be very careful, because it could be a slippery slope, and you never knew whether some bozo was going to come along and say, "Hang on a minute, if John can marry Daryl, then I should like to marry my horse." That's all he said. And so Channel 9 had dragged this up and brought it back into the nighttime current affairs program. My friend had seen it, assumed therefore that Corey Bernardi was a piece of shit, and went off at me for supporting him.
Well, you probably could marry a horse if you really wanted to.
Nowadays, you probably could, couldn't you? When you think of it, how idiotic is a comment like that, when we are brainwashing our children so they can identify as a cat or a dog or a horse or whatever, and yet have to have schools to provide for them bowls so they can drink out of them.
And litter.
So whatever Corey Bernardi said is wrong, but all these other idiots that are, pushing this transgender madness and allowing our children to be lied to, that they can identify as anything but a human being.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, it's like really one extreme to the next.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, he said that had come back to haunt him, and that he still maintained that you have to be careful when changing things in Parliament, or in changing acts, changing things. You need to consider all the ins and outs, and I think that's fair enough.
That doesn't seem to be a problem, though. They just change things, make things up, do things like the Victoria does now. Land, just make it up. Anyway,
all right,
we get to see. So, that's great. Well, I hope if I screwed
we'll get to see One Nation. We've made a massive dent, like Pauline Hanson said. She's left, a few landmines for Labor to get through. So we'll see in the next between now and whatever happens, but the next federal election as well too. We'll see how big that swing's going to go, because I reckon they are shitting themselves at the moment.
Well, Victoria's in November, I think.
This is hilarious. Can we just look at this? This is just hilarious.
Albanese.
Yeah, and yet did you hear him the next day that they completely play it down? They were friendly, they were lovely, and so the guy's, like someone said, he's delusional. He's delusional, and yet he's appeasing a culture that just absolutely hates him.
He's either delusional or he's a really good actor, but
No, he's a nut. He's just
Quite a
an
bit.
absolute gonzo. He really is.
Gonzo, yeah, Gonzo.
And did you hear who's in town? Did you hear who's in town? Ursula from the EU's in town.
Did you see what Alex Antic did? He put a post of himself saying he was too busy to go and listen to her. He was sitting outside drinking coffee, watching the grass grow.
What's that bad that grows well to the sitting at the free trade with Europe. Yeah, so free trade with Europe, guys. So look how it's going to cost us now. Free trade with Europe.
Oh.
He shook on it. Free trade with Europe.
Who is benefiting? This is the question.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you for coming on at short notice, Natasha.
Yeah, thank you.
That was fun. Thanks, Wells. If
And
I
I'm
offended
sorry
anyone, get over it.
And I'm sorry they abused you, and congratulations to your husband.
Oh, no. Okay. Aussie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. Oh, I got to tell you, forgot about this thing as well too. After they finished, that's the other thing. They had welcome to ceremony, a fast that was actually really embarrassing because the guy that did it was mumbled through it. Honestly, it sounded like he was talking to himself. He was laughing. He was just anyway. And then he actually looked like an Italian Greek guy. And then the young kid that was with him playing the didgeridoo, he looked like he was Spanish or something. Anywho, they bumbled and mumbled through it and got everyone clapping and doing something weird. And you can see that everyone's kind of wondering what the hell's going on. After the ceremony, I yelled out in my all fabulousness, looking ever so elegant and graceful from the top floor, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oh, and there's nobody. All I had was this Italian guy, old guy in his 60s, I think close to his 70s, going, oi, oi, oi. And I went, Aussie. And I've had about 3 or 4 people in the balcony joining me. And I went, oh, well, that kind of flattened out. But the guy on the stage, he took it up. He says, oh, that's right. We've got a very good Aussie tradition. And then he said the Aussie, Aussie, oi. So all the Aussies in there, apart from the new citizens, all did the Aussie, Aussie, oi, oi thing. So I was quite proud of my.
Well done.
Good, go you, good thing, go. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, well we can go now, Kelly, because that was called a highlight, and we'll end on a high.
Yes,
We'll end on a high.
Thanks for all the comments from the people watching. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Historically, we are the debris, forgotten faces, never more to be. Instead of legends fighting for something that had no guarantees, living ghosts we chose to live and die as their worker bees. Why didn't we break out from their high? Why didn't we follow
Hi, Kelly.